we are back for another episode of Manny Monday. For those who are not here for the fact, Manny Monday is an opportunity for me to talk to my family and friends, inform them of things that happened during the week, moments of epiphanies, life lessons, things I learned, quotes that stood out to me, right? And the thing I'm gonna talk about in this video is posted in the description, right? But I post a new list of topics that I will talk about in the upcoming week on my Instagram. My Instagram is right here. I said it's right here, right? So to get that list on Friday when it drops, so you're in anticipation of the Manny Monday, you follow me on my Instagram, but I also post reels on there daily. And of course, the Manny Monday is Monday, right? So like the video, and we're gonna start reading off the list, and I'm gonna go talk about those topics, right? So the first topic that I have is you used to call me. Used to call me, right? So of course, first thing to come to mind, at least for me, is Hotline Bling. It used to be a Drake song. I think it came out in 2016, right? It's like, used to call me on the cell phone, late night when you need my love. Something like that, right? I remember the last video I had, I talked about looking at the past, but don't be caught staring at it, right? And then recently hearing this song and then making a quotable of like reminiscing on how conversation and communication used to be with certain people, but it's just not the way that it used to be, right? And life been lifing. It really has, because even when I think about myself and the communication that I had with certain friends and certain friendship, it isn't the way it used to be, and it's because of things that just have been happening in my personal and professional life, right? So I took on this new responsibility with this new career. I love my career, right? But when I'm at work, I'm working, and I also have to communicate. So what leaves that between work and sleep is it leaves me about 6 to 7 hours to actually be entertained, to be alive, to do different things outside of the weekend, right? And so communication has differed, but I'm also still finding time, right? And granted, I don't have the same lived experience as you. We're not comparing apples to oranges. It's not the Suffer Olympics and all those good sayings and euphemisms and stuff that I heard in the past, and making analogies to saying that my experience is unique to me and we don't have to be comparative with the suffering and shit, but just make time for the people that you care about. At the end of the day, that's all you have to do, right? And so yes, life for me currently, again, not comparing apples to oranges or suffering more and whatnot, is complicated. I have a lot of tasks and things and responsibilities that I need to do, but at the end of the day, I make time for the people I care about, but also informing them of the changes in schedule, and that is going to be hard for a minute, right? But I'm figuring this shit out, and as I get through training, as I learn my job and responsibilities, it will get easier, and be able to communicate that, but then also still communicate with them, right? So I'm not be able to do so much during the day, but when it does come nighttime, I do communicate with them, and I do keep them informed, right? But yeah, the communication style isn't the same. It has evolved, but we're still keeping it going, you know, because I do care about them, right? Yeah, so that's what meant by that. The second thing I have on my list is, what are we good at? So there's an exercise that I saw being done, and what was asked to this woman is, what are you proficient at, right? And she went up, she talked about herself and what she was proficient at and what she felt great about. And when I thought about myself, there's a lot of things that I'm good at, like maybe average, a little bit above average, but there's not many things that I'm great at, right? And I'm thinking great in the terms of competition in sport, or great in the most simplistic terms of like, out of the average person, I'm better than you. I can outdo you and stuff. And there's not that many things that I feel like I'm great at, right? This is not self-deprecating. Please don't be in the comments like, oh my gosh, man, you're da-da-da-da-da. No, I don't need that shit. I'm saying that there's things that I want to be great at, and to enhance my skill set. Like, I'm learning Spanish, I'm introduction to substance abuse, I'm learning my career, and I want to be an expert on it, right? I'm even a criminologist, you believe it or not, right? I got the paperwork and the education for that. But there's not, the things that I'm really great at, they're not quantifiable. They're not really things that I can really show you and to be in competition with, right? The things that really make me great as a person, if I were to put it into words, is I'm dependable, I have good time management, I'm a hell of a storyteller, right? I think I'm charismatic, and I have enough resilience that even though something makes me uncomfortable, I don't really know, I push myself, right? The thing that stands out to me from one of my interviews when I got into a fraternity that I will not name because I ended up leaving that frat, is I've called back to her and I said, like, hey, there were other people that didn't get into this fraternity. Why was it me that got into it? And she told me during my interview, it's like she noticed that I was nervous, but I just pushed past that shit, right? So knowing me and who I am is like that. I think that's something that makes me great, is like, despite how I'm feeling in that moment, I'm able to just push past and just get the job done and do what I need to. It's like that fight or flight response, and your body's telling you to like freeze and lock up, but you're just pushing past that. For my anime people, it's like when Deku saw that monster, he threw his bag at it, he kept running at it, he's like, nah, I gotta save Bago. That's either here or there. I'm geeked up, but like, yeah, it's just knowing, but there's things that make you great, or at least make me great, and it may not be quantifiable, right? So I challenge you to ask yourself, yeah, okay, there's things that you're good at, but what are you great at, right? I don't have the answer, let me know. Comment down below, yeah, I wanna know. Third thing I have on the list is can't do Wayne shit, right? I watched this Shannon Sharp interview with Marlon Wayans a couple months ago. I took notes on it, but I never really got the opportunity to talk about it in video format, right? So I'm gonna read a quotable and we're gonna talk about it, right? So it's like, you can't do what we do because you don't have my life experience. Give you all the seasoning, you don't know how to put it in. Ooh, ooh, it's steamy, it's steamy. You hear what Marlon Wayans said? Like, you could have all the ingredients for the shit, all the ingredients, right? But how much of each do I put in, right? So like, let's say I'm making, refried beans, for example. You need cumin, oregano, garlic, onion, right? But how much are you putting in? If you're not putting the right amount, it's not gonna taste good. It's just not, right? So everybody could look at our experience, right? If I were to equate it to anything, I equate it to like the iceberg, right? So for example, let's take this cup for example, in case you're not familiar with the iceberg. Yes, this is a definite cup, right? This paper is the iceberg or whatnot, right? So there's a part that we see, right? But there's another part of it that's hidden, right? And so this is similar to like the Titanic of like, oh, they saw like a little piece of ice, like, oh, we gonna run that bitch over. Hit it. And then there's also all this stuff that's under that. And people function in the same way of, there's something that you see, right? But then there's also some things that are underneath that water that you're not really privy to. So, right, I talked about my experience thoroughly, right? There's 35 videos about my experience. Look at the shits, they're there. I mean, there's thousands of reels. But it's like, you can see my experience and everything, you can form your own perception, but there's just a layer of shit that's just underneath that you're just not privy to, or you just don't know. And even for you, there's a you that people see above the water, but then there's also these experiences and stuff that make you unique. So a person could easily make a judgment that say like, oh, I can do the same thing that they do, or oh, why did they do this, why didn't they do that, right? And I'm no saint, I'm hypocritical in the sense that I also make the same judgments about other people at times, but I also have to catch myself and being trauma-informed and understanding that like, hey, there's something under the water, there's something that I'm not privy to, right? if you do look at me and my experience and everything that I've been through, I hope it does inspire you. But to tell yourself that you can do the same thing that I do just based off of just seeing like, oh, it's easy. Nah. Negative. Because there's a lot more shit that goes into doing this and being me than that meets the eye, right? Fourth order of business is, drum roll please, don't ignore the doorman, right? And for this, I have a quote from the show Penguin, right? Again, this is something else that I wrote down in my notes a month ago, but never really had the time to put it in a video format, and so I'm doing it now. So this quote reads, "They don't even know what they have because they always had it. Never been hungry, born full," right? And so this is a scene where Colin Farrell is talking to Vic, and he's describing why he has to appease like some of these people, right? And I think it's very interesting in this show, especially with Penguin, is because he's like, oh fuck, how do I describe it? Classism is one thing, right? But some people don't understand the logistics of classisms, right? And it's not anything wrong with not understanding, but I think like, and if you don't get the idea of like, okay, there's people with money and there's people with the haves and the have-nots, right? People with money and the people that don't have money, right? And they're being treated differently based off of affordability and where they came up and where they grew up and stuff like that nature, right? Then maybe you can understand from the lens of having a physical disability, right? And so the Cobb and within the show, or Oz or whatever you call him, he does have a physical disability and he has like a walk with a limp, right? And you can tell throughout the show the way he interact with people with a look of disgust and the way that they treat him just because of that, right? Because he tries to move up and he tries to do different things, he has his way about it, but he gets deduced, right? Because people can see you doing and receding and doing different things, but in order to feel better about themselves, they feel like they have to pull you down. Why can't it be a thing where we're all rising and we're all enjoying the world? It's like, no, I need to make you feel like shit so I feel better about myself. And so in this quote, he talks about, yeah, they've always been full. They don't know what they're missing because they haven't had that wake up call, right? And it does suck that sometimes, like, even when we're young, or especially when I was young, I can experience things, I can experience life, and I can also be told things of like, hey, don't do this, it's gonna turn out a certain way. And that person's wise, they experience it, right? But there's just certain life lessons that people don't really grasp or they don't really understand until they experience themselves, right? And it's very disheartening, but it's also kind of true to an extent because like you don't know what you don't know until you know. And hopefully that's not too late. Hopefully you're young enough to make those mistakes and start over, right? I do feel like the time that I am, I'm still in my 20s, so like, not saying I anticipate fucking up, but like if I did, there's plenty of time to start over. What's 5-7 more years, right? But it also, another takeaway is don't ignore the doorman, don't overlook people, right? When you go into a building, even if you're going to a building for an interview or you're going to a place of work, say hello to everyone. I think it was something taught to me at my previous job, but I also think it was something taught to my father, is that you respect everybody and individual in that building, in that vicinity, because you never know who you're gonna need one day, right? So if I go into a building, right, I'm saying hi to the security, I'm saying hi to the doorman, I'm saying hi to the custodian, I'm saying hi to the people, the clients, I'm saying hi to whoever, right? I'm acknowledging them, right? Because everybody's taking up space within that environment, and I gotta acknowledge your presence, right? I'm not overlooking it with you because I don't know what you're going through. Tying back to that iceberg shit that I was talking about earlier, I don't know what you're going through on a daily basis, and I can be that defining moment that really makes or break your day. But even if I'm not feeling 100% right, if I give off that energy, if I give off that positivity, if I give off that love, there's no telling how it can affect you, right? But it also just shows that not being so prideful, not being so up or dismissive of people, that I see you, but I'm looking right past you, right? So let's say like I love analogies. Again, I'm telling you, I'm a great storyteller, right? So if I have some food in front of me and like I'm very hungry, somebody takes that food and they put it behind them, I'm still looking at them, right? But I'm looking past them because I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get to that food. I'm hungry right now. I need to get to that, right? And we don't want to look at it. Like, yes, we have a goal and objectives when we're going in transit in and out of places. I did give the example of work, but then there's also just other places where we're interacting with people, and we don't want to look past them, right? Because they're taking up space, and we should acknowledge the space that they're taking up, right? But again, that's easier said than done. And again, I'm not perfect, but I do try to acknowledge people a little bit more, and I do need to do a better job of doing that, right? But yeah, that's all that I have for today. I do like to say RIP Todd. I'm not sure if his name is Todd. I do call him Todd. I think his name is Todd, but I do know him as Candyman, and over the course of the weekend, I heard about his passing, and it hurts. It hurts. I did have this tattoo. When I used to work at the jail, this was like the first tattoo that I met. The tattoo artist that I know now, and she's tattooed me 9-8 times since then. And this piece to me holds definitely significance. Tattoos, they really don't have a meaning in the date and the time that you get them, at least to me, and they develop meaning over time, because at the moment you get them, it's very cool. But I like the aura, the confidence that he carried himself, the soothing in the voice. And what I took away from him is being able to just slow things down. Even when you're thinking you're slowing things down, go 10 times slower. It's something that I learned from Stephen Amell, but then also watching Candyman and the aura and the way that he can carry himself is something that, at least this tattoo and this piece, it grounded me. I love seeing the character. It's not just a recency bias. This is not any fake love or anything. I really did love Candyman, his performance, and I know some of you guys know him from Venom. The old Candyman. I mean, the Holy Trinity, Candyman 1, 2, and 3. Now that new Candyman, child, don't watch that shit. Don't watch that shit. Don't watch that shit. But yeah, it hurts. It hurts a little bit hearing this news. But yeah, condolences to him and his family. But without further ado, that's the end of this video, right? Like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. Okay. Jarritos on me.